Hello, everyone. I'll give you a minute to get settled, get your audio working, make sure you can hear us okay. Thanks for coming tonight to talk about motor accessibility. We're really excited to share all the information with you. As you're getting settled, if you want to go ahead and answer this question, where are you at with adding accessibility to your decks? Have you not started yet? Are you kind of started, or you have started, or you're finishing up updating your old decks, or you're deciding, nope, I'm going to start fresh. I'm creating new decks, or I have ideas, but I'm not sure what to do. And that's okay if you are feeling that way. Hopefully, we can answer some of those questions. If you have not already seen, we have two other webinars in this series for alt text and audio accessibility. Those are on our YouTube channel. So if you want to go back and watch those, tonight is all about motor accessibility. So what we are going to do is really focus specifically on that. Anything related to Z order and motor. So any questions tonight, please make sure that it's focused on that. If there are other questions about accessibility, my email will be here. You are welcome to reach out to me, and I will answer and meet with any of you. Of course, this meeting is being recorded, so I want to make sure that you do know that. We will email out the replay tomorrow, and again, it is posted on our YouTube channel for you to view in the future as you're updating your decks for accessibility. Awesome. Looks like I see a couple people in the chat already feeling like you've started or you're finishing up some of your decks already, or you're just not sure where to start yet. That's okay. Totally fine. Thank you for being here. We're excited to share the things with you. All right. Tonight it is me and John. John, you want to say hello?
Hello, everyone. If I haven't met you, I'm John Standel. Um, I'm a bit of a unicorn in the industry. I'm a speech path. I have a master's in special ed as well. And I've been doing curriculum design and OGCOM implementations. I'll age myself since like 1997. So I've been around for more than a hot minute in the industry.
Yeah, John is a wealth of knowledge, so I'm excited that he's going to share some of our things about motor accessibility tonight. I'm Heather, your Boom Publisher Manager. Been in the field of special education for 13 years. Curriculum has been my life as well, so curriculum design is a passion of mine. So I'm happy to help you here. Just again for uniformity, please use the Q&A feature for all of your questions. The chat can be looked at, but it's hard for us to go back and forth. So please make sure that if you do have any questions, you are using the Q&A at the bottom. So go ahead and take a second to find that to make sure that your questions go in there.
And we'll probably won't answer them live. We'll probably answer them towards the end after we walk you through everything, just so we don't get distracted. So don't feel like we're not going to answer them. We're going to tackle them probably towards the end.
Yeah. All right, so why do we need to add accessibility to our decks? So we've had various states and school districts reach out to us for AdBoom to say that if we do not address accessibility within our platform, that they will not be able to use it. That basically it will no longer be able to be used at that school with those teachers, with those therapists. So we do want to make sure that we are keeping up with the compliance for accessibility within our Boom decks. And more schools, more districts, more teachers means more sales for you guys. So we do want to make sure that they stay engaged and happy with the product that is being produced with Boom. It is also best practice for all students with universal design for learning. So we do want to make sure that we are continuing to do that for all learners. And then, of course, we are here to help. Again, my email will be in this slide deck that you will see. I am meeting with publishers every day to update accessibility for their stores. So if you have more questions or you just feel like, nope, I need to walk through my specific store, I am happy to help you with that. And thank you for working with us, truly. All right, so today we're going to go over, again, everything about motor accessibility. We're going to do a little bit of FAQ, things that I've been getting recently from the publishers and questions that they've had. And we're going to talk about when to opt in, when to opt out, talking about changing the Z order of your decks, which helps that motor accessibility. And then, like John said, we will have a Q&A at the end to make sure all of your questions are answered. All right. So the question is, do I need to have all three accessibility features on all of my Boom decks? The short answer is no. You do not. But it is great to have as many of these features as possible. You are going to have more accessibility so that it reaches more learners the more you have, right? So alt text is for those with visual impairments and others. You have your audio accessibility for those with hearing impairments, and then that motor for more of our more complex learners with maybe switch access and low motor capabilities. So again, the more you have on there, the more learners that you will reach. All right, the other question I've been getting a lot is I have drag and drop resources. Can those be motor accessible for Boom? No. The short answer is no. And we want to make sure that you are adding what you need so that it can be accessible. John, do you want to share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, in order for like a drag and drop to actually work, first of all, we would have to have controls in there so the student could hit their switch, lock on an object, hit another switch to drag it where they want to drop it, another or hit a first switch again to then release it. We don't have that right now, and that's something that's not even on our roadmap of something we want to build. It and it is a very complex, higher functioning skill to realize that you are going to click on something, lock it, and then drag it across your screen and drop it off at another location. Um, I would love if we had it, but right now that's such a high level of dev development that that's not in a it's nothing we're looking at right now. I would rather see us build in some auto scanning and some text to speech capabilities than a drag and drop for motor accessible needs right now. I think we'd serve more kids with some other functions than drag and drop.
Yeah, and we're going to go into more detail about that in just a moment as well. So John, you want to keep going with this?
So a lot of, in order to make boom cards accessible, computers don't have switch access. So what you're looking at are some switches from Click or AbleNet, all the companies that make switches. They have to be plugged in their computer or however they're accessing their boom decks through a switch interface box. The switch interface box will tell the switch. So if that blue switch on the left-hand side of the screen, if that's my switch and I want to select something with that, that keystroke of enter is how you're going to select. The switch interface box will tell what switch you're using, what keystroke you're using. So with the boom decks we have, everything's going to be a two switch step scan, meaning I can tab through it with switch one. And then when I want to select something, my other switch is going to be the enter or the select switch. And all that's set up through these switch interface boxes. An assistive technology professional, a teacher that has AT experience will know about this. But for the most part, a lot of people get very confused with switch interfaces. It is a third-party plugin that you have to use with a student who might have, it might be a student that has really tight CP and they just don't have the motoric involvement to use a keyboard. They're going to be a switch user. Um, there's things that the therapist or the speech path or the AT people need to know in order to make it work, which is we do have FAQs and everything else around that. But I just wanted to make sure everyone saw some of the additional technology you'll need to plug into computer systems in order to make the decks switch accessible. So we just threw the slide in here just so you can see some of the products on the market.
Mhm.
So in order for two switch step scanning to work in boom decks, you're going to have one switch is going to be your tab switch. So when you're in, the way you guys can look to see if your decks are set up right is once Heather shows you how to set them up, you can use your tab button to tab through. So tab, tab, tab will be like switch, switch, switch. And then when you want to select something to actually, 1 + 2 equals, and if you want to hit the number 3, I can hit tab, 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 and then hit my switch number 2 or my enter key, the enter button on my keyboard as the selector to say, is it number 3, get it right or wrong, and then they move on to the next card. So here's just what a two switch would look like. This is one from AbleNet, but it could be any set of switches. Switch one is tab, switch two is enter.
Mhm. Great. So we have a short clip here. I just wanted to show you what it would look like for a student who might be using this type of
And
system.
keep it paused for 1 second. So
Yep.
this student is using an old piece of technology. It's called an AMDI device, a Tech Talk, and he has a switch that's behind his head on his headrest that he's using to be the tab. So tab, 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 and it's hard to see, but by his right elbow, there's a secondary switch that he uses to select.
Mhm.
Um, it's two switch step scanning is actually faster than auto scanning for a lot of students because it eliminates a lot of false positive hits of I want to start my scanning, I want to stop my scanning. It's much more of a purposeful hit, but it is very labor intensive for the people that need it because it's a constant motor requirement that they have to do in order to step through their program. But this is just a quick video I found, and Heather just did a screen share, so to put it up there for you. You can find this on YouTube if you want to see it in its entirety.
Mhm. Yep. Press play on it.
There you go.
So they're showing the setup here. Again, it's behind his head and then at his right elbow.
Let me hear all of them.
And you'll see on the device when he starts it, lights will illuminate on the Tech Talk in front of him. It just started. So now he's hitting it with his head to step scan through it. And you can see the amount of purpose that he needs to control his body to do to tip his head back. Switch placement is probably the hardest thing for a lot of students because their placement and their bodies change constantly. So the therapist really has to be on top of where am I placing it and how am I getting the best accuracy out of this. And now you can't hear this, but he has a visual timer to track his practice time. And then when the timer goes to 0, he's supposed to click more, which you'll see when he hits it with his right switch.
Mhm.
You want to tell me more?
So now I kind of get hung up and now he's going to try and hit stop that the timer stopped.
It stopped.
So as you're building your decks, one of the things to think about is the layout and how you want the students to interact with it. And we'll talk about this later, but there's a lot of ways where you can incorporate even in a deck that's not that, maybe you'll see this, Heather did a great job at explaining it later, but you'll see a layout where it makes sense for a switch user. Like, if I'm going to expose the kids to the 26 letters of the alphabet, I may not want to say you're going to scan through all 26. I may chunk it and say, here's A through E, F through G, um, H through whatever to speed the kids up so they can move through the arrays faster. Or you can embed scannable decks within or scannable cards within your decks, and then the teacher can choose to, maybe she doesn't have a switch user, we'll hide that card when you present that deck to the students. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of tricks we'll show you later on how to make your, if you want to build some switch accessible materials into your materials, how to kind of make them, well, it's a great deck. I don't have any switch users. Well, then hide this card and the kids won't have access to it.
Yep. Yep. All right, so let's talk a little bit about where to find the setting. I will actually share my screen and go into a boom card deck for you so we can see what it actually looks like inside. But you're gonna use the Z order panel. It's gonna be your best friend if you're gonna work on your motor accessibility here, right? Things that are gonna go forward or backwards in that selectable list. So that's gonna be where you're gonna click all of the things.
And think of that as layering.
Mhm.
Um, when our dev guys built this a while ago, they did it in their terminology, which is Z order. It's kind of like a graphical interface. Educators and therapists, we don't talk this way. They know that they're going to be working on fixing this. think of how you're going to layer this. What comes first? What comes second? What comes third? It will help you better understand the Z order. I still get confused sometimes, and I have to go back to a cheat sheet and like, all right, where is this actually in the Z order? So we know this is not perfect. It's far from perfect, but what Heather's going to take you through will really help you guys better understand the Z order and how you should use it on your decks.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the probably the best slide for you if you want to take a screenshot right now or write this down. Because again, going rear, it goes to the top of the list. You wouldn't think that. But if you want your icon or your picture or your text to go all the way to the top, that's you're gonna click rear. And so I kind of think of it like it's like an old school like CD holder, case holder, right? Like where I want to go to the back of my like CD to like grab it first, right? Like so that's what I just think of. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense, but in my brain it does.
It's not intuitive. I'll tell you guys that
No,
right now. It's
no.
just not an intuitive way. And we trust us, we know that, and it'll be fixed hopefully by the end of this year.
Yeah, yeah. So again, if you want to take a screenshot right now is the time. Again, it's just a helpful tool so you can look at it, reference it, or just click a bunch of buttons. Sometimes I have to do that too, just to kind of figure out where it's going to go, what it's going to do. Okay, so if you click back, it's going to go higher in the list. It's just going to go one up, go up higher than that list. And then again, if you're going to go forward, it's going to go one down in that list. And then if you go to front, it's going to go all the way to that bottom of the list. Okay, so here I have a huge list of things. And so the questions I've been getting lately is like, how do I know what order I want it to be in? And so what I'm checking when I'm looking at my cars is the selectable list up here is my directions. I need to find the gorilla. My sound is then next, and then all my images that are in the order. And it will make more sense once I show you my deck that I've made this on. And there are a bunch of images on there that I've already added the alt text to. My gorilla is the correct answer, as we can kind of see. So typically, and again, this is different for any learners that you're working with. Just think about them. Do you want to hear the directions first? Then I do the audio typically. Then if there's any sort of question or thing that they need to look at, I will do that. And then their answer choices. And typically it's left to right progression. So if you're going to go up and down, that's fine. But it's then left to right with your answer choices is the best practice for that. All right, so again, here's the full view of it. This is the Z order on the right-hand side here, right? What do I want to read first? It's some type of direction or a directive for what they need to do. Then they're going to have their container with their answers. And then I want this to be read last. Maybe it's a go next card or go back to the beginning, something like that. So that is how you want to think about it. And again, if I want something to go to the top, you can see it highlighted in yellow at the bottom. It goes all the way to the top. And if I wanted this read last to go all the way to my bottom and it wasn't there, I'm going to click front.
And if you want to think of building decks, if you really want to focus on building decks for kids with motoric issues, the most important thing you can do is pre-plan your build. I do a lot of work on just paper. I'll scratch, lay it out to say, how do I want this to flow? What makes sense? If I'm, again, going back to having the kids identify letters or numbers or colors or shapes or whatever, lay it out on paper before you start building it, because if you build it wrong and then you're like, oh, I didn't want it to happen this way, you have to start over, and it's just much easier to do it on paper. Take it and then take your concept and build it into a deck and see how it flows, and then you can start tweaking it. It saves yourselves a lot of time on just kind of hand scratching out what you want it to look like.
Yep. Yep. And that's what I'm finding too, is a lot of people are having harder time going back and making those edits and making those changes
Exactly.
versus
Yeah.
going forward. So yeah, we totally understand that. All right. I did want to briefly call out the above the line or below the line. So typically there might be, if you are using the template card, you will see this box kind of with a line here. Anything above that line is your template card. So on the template card that I will show you in a second is I have the directions and the sound of what I want them to actually do. And then everything after that underneath that list is on that individual card that I'm working on. So just keep that in mind, is you won't be able to move the selectable list if it's on your template card. You will have to use everything underneath and you can change that order, but you won't be able to change anything above that line. I know many publishers also don't use that template card, so don't even worry about that if that's you. All right, so let's get into, boom. Zoom in a bit for you. All right, so I have two different decks that I want you to look at. This first one with the brand new look of Studio, guys. If you haven't seen it yet, here it is. Super exciting. All right. So on my template card, this is again an example number one. I wanted to put a lot of pictures on here because I know I look at a lot of your decks and it has a lot of things on it. So making sure that you have the correct order of things and how you're building it is going to make sense by just seeing it this way. So again, I'm going to go to my first card here. Actually, I'm going to go to my template card because I have the same images on each of these cards. So I'm going to use my template card to change everything. How I have it here is I have my text of find the correct animal, right? That's what I want. I change the text on every card, which is fine. I want that first. Then I want my sound, right? Then I'm good with the brown bear. Okay, we're good so far. I like this order because I started with my directions, then my sound. Now I have my brown bear. I want my zebra to be next, but my next one right now is peacock. It's going down. I don't want that. I want it to go across and scan it across, similar to the example that you just saw where the student was scanning across the page. So I'm going to go to my zebra, right? I'm going to close out some of these other ones so that we can bring that up a little bit higher. That's another trick I learned, is if you start closing out some of these tabs, everything moves up a little higher. And we are going to move this back. I don't want it to the front or the rear. I say front. Rear, I want it to go back. So again, it's just going to keep going back. I want it below the brown bear. Then after that, I want my gorilla. Again, I'm just going to go back up to zebra, and then my tiger, back up to the gorilla, then my hippo. Where's my hippo? Hippo's all the way at the bottom. Got to bring him all the way back. Move him all the way up, right? So you understand how tedious this could be. But when I put my images in, I can set it up this way so I don't have to do this. I literally put them out of order so you guys could see the actual process of doing this. So again, peacock is too far, so there. Then I want polar bear. Then elephant, right? So this does take a little bit of brain power. Do it while you're working, watching Netflix. Rhino, monkey, then koala, then giraffe, then lion, then panda bear. So everything else kind of fell into place after that. So that is how it should be now on every card. Yep. So if I go back, I can check myself and go down every card to make sure that's the correct order that I wanted. And it is. Okay. That's the example one. So the example two, I'm going to show you because again, a lot of you I know do not use the template card. So I just put the directions and the sound on there, but now everything else, I would have to go to each individual card and change that order. So again, all of these cards have different animals in different spots. I would have to go through every single one and make sure that that is in the correct order. Again, I'm going to go back to my Z order. Let's say I will do one card just so you guys can see it again. Let's say we'll start with penguin, which is already there, but then it goes to flamingo, which I don't want, and goes back. Okay. And of course, if you have any questions as we're going through this, please make sure to use the Q&A so that we can answer any of those. But hopefully this was helpful to see that you do just have to keep clicking until it goes all the way back to where you want it. I'm just going to do this first row here and then we can go back.
While you're doing that, Heather, there's a question that if they have
Yeah.
audio on every page, I guess it would be best to place in individual cards and not on a template. So if the audio is specifically for that that page and not for other pages?
Mm,
Speak to that.
yeah, so I put audio on this because I wanted it on every card. So even on my template card, I just have a ting. I don't have a regular one, but this was more of a placeholder for me so that I could change my sound and say, find the giraffe. So then when I go to this one's, I want to change and find gorilla. I can do that. So that was more of a placeholder for me. So yes, I did add the accessibility text to each of my sound files. So that's what that looked like. Hopefully that answered your question. Okay, great. All right. Let's go back. I have a couple more here and then we will get to our Q&A. All right, so our action step that we're asking publishers is to either have new content or improve content. Our target goal for this is around July 1st. As you're working into July, that's fine. We just want you to see that you are making the strides to add accessibility. To your decks. So make sure to please do that. We're asking for at least 25 decks, either new or revised, that have at least one accessibility feature. Again, if you've missed the other two trainings, please go back to our YouTube channel. There is the alt text and the audio, which I personally feel are the easier ones versus Z order. Z order is a bit more complex, as you have seen. And then for 2026, next year, we're looking for 50 new or revised decks with at least one accessibility feature or 50% of your inventory, whichever is lesser. So again, if you're feeling confused or you're just like super overwhelmed, you want to see how accessibility looks like specifically with your decks, I am so happy to meet with all of you. It's really energizing for me to talk with you guys and kind of figure out how we can add accessibility to your decks.
All right, we have a question. What happens if you randomize the answers? Does the Z order change as the choices are randomized?
Um, Z order change if you randomize. John, do you know that answer?
I believe if randomization is turned on, Z order is thrown up in the air and it doesn't matter anymore. That,
Okay.
if you turn on the randomizer, it will, I think that supersedes the Z order on the, if it's not on if it's on the template page, it's a different thing.
That makes sense.
And
Yeah, I
then
would. Go ahead.
yeah. And then Joanna just said, I just looked at my Boom Card Creator Studio and you've updated my account to the new format since just an hour ago. So Joanna, literally, I was in a meeting with Dev and one of their computers goes, files uploaded. And they said, oh, the new studio's live. So that just happened. I think,
Hour and a half ago?
yeah,
Yeah.
3:30, 4 o'clock my time. Yeah. So it's up and running.
Yeah.
You will all see, we've made promises to you guys that we've really not done a great job at keeping. One of them is making Studio more intuitive and easier and better looking. That's happening, as well as the seller making improvements to the seller dashboard. So we are totally trying to make that a priority for everyone.
Yes.
So if you use randomizing, then updating Z order is not a priority. Yes. Uh, And MC, we will double check with that, but I'm almost positive that randomization supersedes Z order and will randomize that card in that deck.
Yes. And I just added my email to the Q&A or the chat just so you can copy and paste that over.
And one of the things that I want to make sure that you guys are well aware of, our job is to make you guys as successful as possible. So if there's things that we can help with, um, if you have marketing ideas that or marketing help that you want ideas from us, if you have marketing ideas that you want us to consider, if there are concepts that you want to put out there that you're not quite sure if, like, oh, the school's looking for this information, Heather and I are here to help you guys. So feel free. You are not bothering us. Our job is to support you all. So if we can help you, I know back in July when we launched this, I spent most of July and August working with publishers in explaining alt text, explaining Z order, going back to Dev and saying our Z order is still too complex. We need to make it better. So if there's things that we can do, we will totally help you.
Yeah. I don't understand about the randomizing not needing Z order. Isn't Z order for each card no matter where or when it shows up to the student? What am I not understanding?
So the follow-up question that is randomization. You can turn on randomization and if you have a question that is 1 + 2 = what, and then below that is 3, 4, 5, 6, the first time the student sees it, 3 will be on the far left. The second time the student sees it, 3 will be on the far right. The third time they see it, it could be in the right, the middle, or the left. That's randomization. Um, it'll take objects and randomize it on your page. If you set up Z order and then you turn on randomization, randomization is going, well, the Z order doesn't make sense right now. I'm going to randomize this no matter what. And your question may still be the first question of what is 1 + 2. The template below of 3, 4, 5, 6, or whatever it is, that will randomize in Z order. It will no longer say 3, 4, 5, 6. It may say 4, 5, 3, 6, or 6, 5, 3, 4. And it doesn't matter what Z order is. So for a lot of students with motor involvement, you may not want to turn on the randomization because it will make them it may make them work harder to get the answer when that wasn't your intent.
Yeah.
Exactly, Joanna. The group container might make Z order a bit hard. It's just harder for the kids to do.
Yep.
I wouldn't if you want to make a deck accessible for students with motoric issues, I wouldn't turn on randomization because it is going to jump around the screen. So take it to another level. Let's say I have 16 things on a screen and I want the kids to answer like a question, find me number 7. And I just want them to get to number 7. If I turn on randomization and it's out of 16 options and number 7 is now last twice, I'm forcing that student to step scan through all the way to the last one to get the answer, which just causes um, motor burn where the student has to expel energy and muscle memory to get to where they want to be.
Yep. New to
That's what a
designing
group
my
container is.
own.
Go ahead.
Okay. New to designing my own deck sets. Apologies if if it was already covered, but what is a group container? I can share since I'm sharing my screen already. Let me.
Yeah, we have a little bit of time. So
Yeah.
y'all feel free to keep firing off questions if you have more.
Yes, please. So I'm just going to add a random card here. So if I wanted a container for multiple choice, this is a container. This is what we consider a container. As you can see it on the side here, it also says group container, which is helpful. I didn't know that was there. So,
Yep.
so that is there.
And now show them where the randomization button is.
Answer options. Isn't it up here? Is it not up there anymore? Now you guys got me thrown off. No? Oh, randomize items. Yeah.
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 So if that's
It's already
turned
there.
on in that group that she has turned on right now, in that group bucket,
Yeah.
randomization is turned on. So now when she goes to use that, the correct answer right now is in the first position. The next time that shows up for that student, the correct answer might be in the lower right instead of the
Yep.
upper left.
Yeah. So that's under, oh, I clicked out of the container. So yeah, and you can change your columns and all that stuff there.
Joanna said, Joanna was just working on a 16 deck and published it, spinning about how they work with motor accessibility. Again, if I could implore with all of you guys, when you're thinking of motor accessibility, here's how I would do it if I was living in your worlds right now. I would build a deck that the vast majority of kids could use. So maybe I'm working on, let's use Heather's idea of animals. Maybe we're working on identifying animals on a farm, right? And I'm just throwing animals up there: panda, horse, cow, lion, dog, whatever. I may want all the kids to be able to answer that. Everyone in my class, the kids with motor issues, the kids not with motor issues. So all the kids should answer it. but maybe I do have a student, or maybe I do want to build a card specifically for a student with a motoric involvement, and I may ask them, I may have a deck or card in that deck. I may even mark it that says, this card is for students with motor involvement.
Mhm.
That doesn't say anything, but it will ask them a question. Um, would you see a panda on a farm in the United States? Horrible question, but let's just play with that. Answer below that is yes, no. That card I'd only make visible to that student, or I'd only bring it up to work with that student with that motoric involvement. Maybe the other kids don't even see it. So there's a lot of ways where you can make your decks, and I'm throwing up air quotes, accessible just by adding simple little things like, hey, I am going to add a specific card to this deck that's for a student that might have a motor issue. Build it in there. Give the teacher some instruction at the beginning saying, any deck that's marked with a star or that's designed for kids with motor issues to make this accessible for them. And you have it. You're done. You've made that deck accessible for those students. So
Mhm.
you don't need to make every entire deck fully accessible. Sprinkle it in when it makes sense if you want to. All right, more questions. When you're talking about randomization, it's for the containers, not for the order the cards are presented to the students under details. Is that right? Uh,
Yes. Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
So,
Um, Go ahead.
and then MCS. So with this example, would you apply Z order for the question text and audio, but not apply it for the containers with randomization? Most of my decks are randomized, so the students uh, may play many times the decks. So I would apply Z order for the. No, I wouldn't. In this situation, um, I am not a fan of, if you're going to have people access your materials with switches. What I'm saying is I am not a fan of randomization. Um, unless you can work it in there where it makes sense. Randomization in a group container, um, will work with limited numbers. But if you take that limited number, if you randomize 8 in a container, you may be requiring that student to, every time they have to go because of randomization. What if 3 out of 3 randomizations are in the lower right-hand corner? You're requiring that student to step scan, switch through 24 incorrect answers to come up with the right answer at times. So I would not randomize a lot. I would strategically place the right answers where I want the student to select to and give them foils past that to test their knowledge base.
Yep.
Great question.
Natalia says, I already fixed several of my decks, but some of them appear with the accessibility in red and others in gray or green, and I cannot figure out why. What can I do? If you want, you are welcome to set up a call with me. It's a quick 30-minute. We can run through all of your decks and show what that looks like. But as you are going in and scanning for compliance, which I did not show, which we can do that super quickly here. As you go through and you are turning on or off accessibility, that is where it'll turn green or not green. So if I scan this one for compliance right now, it'll say no issues, we're all good. Because I've added my alt text for my visual elements, I've added my audio accessibility there, and my Z order is correct, right? Based on what I know, it's not the system saying this is the correct Z order. You do need to do some understanding of that. So I think that's where a lot of either the green or red is showing up. Green is what you've already done, red is what you haven't done, and then gray is they're not sure. So, okay.
And as a reminder, not all of your decks need to have all 3 levels of accessibility turned on. So they don't all have to be motor and auditory and visually compliant. We're just asking. So alt text is probably the easiest because you're just adding hidden alt text at times. Um, so there are ways that you can make your decks accessible. What's happening is, for example, the state of Maryland and the state of Colorado have gone to all of the publishers that the school districts are using and saying if your websites, if your web apps, and if your curriculum are not addressing accessibility or do not meet the minimum requirements of accessibility, the school districts cannot buy them. So we are probably a year ahead of where other companies are in getting this done. Compliance has to be done by, I think, June 30th. You have to demonstrate that you've started it and you're taking on this project as a company. And knowing that Colorado and Maryland have started this, other states are going to jump on board. And it's just everyone should be doing it anyways, but the states are now mandating that companies comply.
Yep. Again, apologies if I should already know this, but John stated that perhaps the accessible card stays hidden from the general population students. How do we do that? So that would be a teacher end to make sure that they are hiding those cards where necessary. You build the deck, they go through and they can edit in a way, right? They can hide those cards in the deck that they say, oh, my student can't access this, or I don't want certain students to see these cards. That's how that would work.
So when the teacher is when the teacher takes the deck into preview mode, the educator can preview the deck and identify cards in that deck that they want hidden. We originally designed it for differentiation to make the decks easier or harder for kids, but there's no reason why we can't say it. Well, oh, here's a switch accessible deck. Well, my kids don't need this, hide it. All right, it
Mm-hmm.
takes a millisecond to do,
Mm-hmm.
but it allows the deck to be accessible, or better yet, for the kids that might have motoric issues or even ataxia issues where they might take longer to answer, some of these decks that we're creating with switch accessibility will be really nice for students to use
Mm-hmm.
even on the gen ed side.
Yep. Beth kind of gave a suggestion and a question. So you could duplicate a deck and have one with randomized containers and the other with not without, for ease of
Absolutely.
switch use. Yep. And then sell it as a bundle. Yes. I just
Sell
told
it as
somebody that the other day.
Absolutely. I would do that so often. I would take a deck. Imagine if you built a master deck, you cloned it, but then you went into the clones and you deleted some of the materials that are too hard. You could differentiate it down. You could add accessibility. You could build a really great bundle off of one concept and differentiate it up and down and add accessibility in and out of it. But again, you want to pre-program that and figure out what is this going to look like before you start building it. But
Yep.
you are 100% right, Beth. It's a great idea.
Yep. So Joanna, if I know that a certain deck will be way too demanding to have motor accessibility, I should
Opt
just
out.
shut it off and
Opt
scan
out.
for compliance. Yes.
There are, if
Yes.
when you think about motor accessibility, it is a percentage of students that need
Yep.
it. It is a very, very small sliver.
Yep.
If you have a very complex deck that is really good for the 99.9% of the other kids, and it's too hard, it's drag and drop, it has hidden stuff in it, opt it out. Don't try and
Yep.
recreate it. You'll never be able to do it.
Yeah, it's so hard to do. Again, if unless you're thinking of that from the start, right?
Even then, it's too like the drag and drop when we
It
started this
is, it's hard. Yeah.
conversation. Hey, I wanted the kids to be able to drag and drop this over. Well, you can't. It's not a feature.
Yeah, totally. All right. Any other questions? Any last minutes?
You guys are the best. Thank you for all these great questions.
Yeah.
Again, don't feel like you're bugging us. It's Heather@boomlearning.com, John@boomlearning.com. Send us questions. We have time to answer your questions. Even if it's through an email, we can hop on a quick call, do a quick hangout where we can say, hey, here's what you could do, try it. I do it all the time with publishers and therapists throughout the US. So, Heather, can you
Yep. I typed mine in the chat already. I will type
throw
yours
mine
as
up there
well.
too?
Yeah.
But do not feel like you're bugging us. The more that we help you, the more successful you are, the happier we are. And honestly, the more materials we're putting out to the students. We have noticed some stagnation in the marketplace where we're not seeing new and innovative decks coming out. So if you have ideas, we're almost into summer, depending upon where you live. I'm in the Midwest. It's still rainy and gross here, but um, building content over the summer and marketing that content over the summer. We're looking for publishers that are looking to build more content and get creative. Feel free to reach out. We'd love to have conversations with any of you.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Joanna.
What did Joanna say? Hold on. What'd you say?
Joanna, one more time in the chat. She said, "Don't worry, John. I
I
got
got
some
some
doozies in the works." I love that. That's great. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. We truly do appreciate it. Again, if you have not checked out the other two webinars, please make sure to do that because, again, I think those are more easier of the two. And then Motor, thank you for hanging with us. I know this is complex and you guys are doing a really great job. Please reach out with any other questions.
If you're not frustrated, you're not doing the right thing. That's the way I always look at it with Boom, right? If studio's not doing what you want to do, it's because something's not right. So let us know how we can help you. And Joanna, I'm looking forward to seeing your doozies soon.
Thank you, everyone. Good
Thanks,
night.
everyone. Have a great night.